What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to the #1 ranked show. I am your host, RJ Young. Thank you for watching on the Fox Sports app, YouTube, or listening wherever you get your podcast. Today, we're going to talk with Houston Gamblers linebacker Donald Payne Jr., who has a remarkable story and journey to the USFL and quietly has become one of the best defenders in the USFL this season. Very excited for you to hear our conversation. Also going to get into my final power rankings of the season as we have locked in our 4 playoff teams who are headed to Canton, Ohio. Also, the USFL seasonal awards begin later this week. Make sure I get my dates right here. On Wednesday, June 15th, you can check out the USFL social channels to see the all USFL defense, which is going to feature 2 defensive ends, 2 defensive interior linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. I can think of a number of guys that I think ought to be considered for each one of these spots. Chris Odom, Davin Bellamy, Donald Payne, Gerard Fernandez, DeMarcus Gates, Channing Stribling, Will Likely, Shalom Luani. I'm very excited to see who is on these teams. Thursday, you're going to get the all USFL offense, which features 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 offensive tackles, 2 guards, and 1 center. And then Friday is the all USFL special teams, place kicker, a punter, a kick returner, a punt returner, and a special teamer. And then next week, we got the big awards. We have Sportsman of the Year, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Most Valuable Player. Those last 3 will be selected from the all USFL teams. Again, check out all of the USFL's social channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, wherever it is that you like to consume your USFL content. And then next week, I will tell you who I think ought to win DPOY, ORY, also Coach of the Year. These are all also going to be not, like, I don't pick these. I should make that very clear. None of the media picked these. I didn't pick anybody or not pick somebody for a USFL team. These are coming from the 8 coaches. I feel like those are the guys that are most qualified to put people on all USFL teams, select Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Most Valuable Player. It feels kind of airtight to me on that. All right, so be on the lookout for those things. But right now, let's go talk to Houston Gamblers linebacker Donald Payne. And I'm pleased to be joined by Houston Gamblers linebacker Donald Payne Jr. Donald, how you doing?
I'm doing well, RJ.
I appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the USFL Spotlight show. And I want to ask, just off the rip, how does it feel to be on the team that was the first to beat the Birmingham Stallions in Birmingham in front of Birmingham fans?
Great feeling. You know, we had to give them their first loss. You know, we had to knock them off their pedestal real quick. So that was nice of it.
It's been a journey for you to come to the USFL, to get to the USFL. I want to pivot to Stetson, right, to the NFL. But when did you first learn that you would be the first player from Stetson University to play in the NFL?
I didn't know it all, actually, until going into my senior year. You know, I was just out there playing ball, you know, enjoying it. Stetson's a small D1 AA school. Yeah, there's no athletic scholarships. It's like Ivy League, you know. So, you know, a lot of people, I had great stats, great career there and everything. But, you know, it's a small school, no scholarships. So, you know, we weren't getting the NFL scouts at our practice like that and stuff like that. But, you know, going into my senior year, my coach said if I really, you know, put my mind to it and, you know, go all in, you know, I could have a chance at the next level. And then after my senior year, I basically said, you know, during my senior year, I basically said, hey, look, I can take this to the next level and I can make this a career. I can make this a lifelong dream. So
I think it's remarkable that one of the things that I can count on if I see Donald Payne Jr.'s name is that it's going to be high up there when we come to tackles. And I want to get into that in a bit, but among special team players, you racked up the 3rd most tackles in the NFL in 2017 as a Jacksonville Jaguar. What did you learn from playing special teams on the NFL or in the NFL? Excuse me.
It's people always talk about offense and defense all the time, but the special teams is the 3rd wave, and it's a special wave. And my coach from Stetson, his name was Kawaki Thomas. He played for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a while, cornerback for them. He basically said he stuck in the league and was able to stay in the league for being a great special teams player, being able to sit in a meeting room and know if you can run down on kickoff, make make blocks in the open field, then you're going to have a chance to stick in the NFL, a chance to make, some real money. So I kind of honed in on that and basically said, hey, I'm a smaller linebacker with speed. Hey, that's what special teams for, linebackers that can hit and run down the field, So I enjoy, running down on special teams for the Jags for my time there. It was a great time. Got to play in the AFC Championship game. But, of course, Tom Brady had to, spoil it for us and, beat us in 2017. So that was kind of bad, though. But other than that, it's been a great.
Hey, man, you're not the only person that got a Tom Brady fishing story. Like, it's a lot of folks out there that got a Tom Brady fishing story. But for the uninitiated, I want to walk this out so that everybody understands what I mean when I'm saying that Donald Payne Jr. is out here to Bobby Boucher and put people on the ground. You went over 100 tackles this season against Birmingham, right? Which means that you got to 100 tackles in 9 games, which is ridiculous, or 8 games, which is ridiculous. But it also means that you've had 100 tackles in every season that you have played entirely, going back to high school, man. And to lay this out for folks, right? It's not just 100 tackles as a senior. It is 3 PFL Defensive Player of the Year award. That is Pioneer Football League. It's All-American 3 times. It's 538 tackles in a career, which is the 3rd most in Division I. It's 185 tackles in 1 season and 30 in 1 game against Campbell. Where did you learn to find football like that, man?
Hey, it's a little bit of instincts and it's a little bit of effort. It's one in itself. Sometimes when you might not be the fastest, not be the strongest, if you know what the other teams are going to do, you know what they're going to run. Yes, I can be there a step faster than anybody else. And it's about effort. It's about always being sound in my gaps. And then guess what? If I got to go sideline to sideline and make a tackle, stop me from getting the first down, then I'm willing to do that. And I've really just been doing that my entire career. I played safety in college, but I was more of an in the box safety, like a Cam Chancellor, not really over the top type safety. So, I just honed in on that, and it's been stuck with me ever since, and even when I got to start for the Jags started in 2019, I got to start for the Jags for 5 games. And during that span, I led the NFL in tackles, during that span. So it's just something I've honed in on as my niche. And in the USFL, I've just been trying to keep it going and, play within the scheme. But like I said, it's about instincts and it's about effort.
Man, I remember I'm covering one of these games. I'm like, this can't be right. This dude got 19 tackles in 1 game. And I'm like, wait a second. No, that's him popping up again. But I'm glad you brought up that you were safety in college, because if you go look up Donald Payne Jr. at Stetson University, you'll see DB. And you'll also see, okay, I kind of understand this now as a box safety, but there's also this aspect of, forgive me, you being undersized, right?
Correct,
how have you
correct.
combated that throughout your career?
When I first, said I was going to going in the draft, I didn't know training for pro day, would they consider me a DB or would they consider me a linebacker? I didn't know what it was. I'm 5'11", kind of 6 foot, around the 228, range. Are they going to put me as a safety? Going to put me at a linebacker? Falcons called, they wanted me as a DB. Baltimore Ravens called, they wanted me as a linebacker. And I sat down with my agent and said, hey, this is basically where I'm going to be stapled my entire career. Do I want to go with the DB route or go the linebacker route? And we sat down, we basically said that the game has changed so much. Linebackers aren't the same linebackers we had back in the day, back in the 1980s, running 4.8s and, weighing 245 pounds. The game is spread out so much. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to guard tight ends, running backs. You have to do so many more things in today's game. And I think that the linebacker play for this generation is suited perfectly for me. So we decided to go the linebacker route. And, I had to learn a whole bunch of new things my first year in the league, gap schemes. And, this is a 3 technique, a 4 technique. Things as a DB you wouldn't know. I'm deep safety, I'm cover 3. But as a linebacker, there's so many more nuances in it. And I'm also playing the Mike linebacker, so I have to make every check, every call. I got the green dot on my helmet. Coach is telling me to play. I got to make the check. So linebackers are entirely, at the end of the day, you're the quarterback of the defense. So you have a whole bunch of things riding on your shoulders as getting everybody lined up so the whole defense can play well together.
It's an astute observation by you to notice what the game is calling for from defenders, notably, like find me a Will that can line up in the slot, and I'll find you a person that's going to make a lot of money, because that's just not a skill set that usually transfers. And I appreciate you going, hey, as a former free safety, I'm going, nah, man, when the ball's in the air, I know what to do. That run fit stuff, that ain't for me. I don't do that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, hey, RJ, your fit is here. I'm like, nah, linebacker, he gonna clean that up. Look, I'm going to get the ball. That's what I'm here to do. But I want to take it back to Stetson for just a little bit. When you're playing for the Hatters, you're having these 2 outstanding seasons. You mentioned you're not playing on scholarship. Did you think about transferring?
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000% thought about transferring. I had a few teams that actually, Bethune-Cookman's right up the street from Stetson. So, they reached out, and a few other teams reached out who were recruiting me beforehand, who wanted to bring me on as a preferred walk-on. And my defensive coordinator and my mom, we just sat down and said, hey, look, I made so many great friends here at this school. I've got coaches that are like a father figure to me there. And they basically said, hey, look, I had a home there, and I didn't want to disrupt that home. I didn't want to go somewhere just because I thought I could be better. I thought I could be at an SEC school. I think I could have stuck with anybody, but I made a home there, and I don't regret it at all going to Stetson at all. And I enjoyed the time. I got lifelong friends I made there. And at the end of the day, me and my mom would always say, hey, it worked out. I got to pay off my loans after that first couple NFL game checks. I paid off those loans right away. So it's all good now.
It's a very 2022 sensibility you have there. But see, this is what I was going to lead to, but now you just answered the question, which is, does that finance degree get any work? And he's like, absolutely. I'm paying off these student loans. No, I'm with that, dog. I really am. I appreciate you putting it in perspective for folks that might not understand why you want to go and play your football at Stetson University. And for the folks that are still thinking about this, yes, John B. Stetson renamed the university after the Hatter and the hat manufacturer. He was a great patriarch and donor to the university itself. We just want to make sure I clean that up for folks that's going, is he really talking about the same dude? Yes, I am. How have you become such a great, tackler in the USFL, where you're playing against other dudes that, not unlike yourself, spend a little bit of time in the NFL and can play some football?
I mean, I always talk to my defensive guys. I had to get a little accustomed. It's my first spring league, it's a first, they've had other, spring leagues, and USFL has stuck around. I'm so glad that they've been able, everything, the organization, everything that USFL has had going on has been great. It's been sensational. I think, USFL is here and it's here to stay. And I had to get a couple insights from some of my guys who've been in spring leagues. Hey, how does it work? How's the competition? How does it work? We don't have a regular training camp. You got to, we have to speed things up a little bit. We getting dudes from all different types of walks of life. We got people who was in the league 3-4 years. You got some people who are, just trying to continue playing, playing the game of football. So we got so many different people in this league, and we all just have come together, and gamblers, us being 2-7, which is unfortunate, but we have so much camaraderie on, even though we're being 2-7, and I really enjoyed my time with all my teammates. I actually just came back from a paintballing event with the team. We had about 20 guys out there paintballing. So that was great fun. But I've enjoyed my time, and we've just been able to stick together, and the camaraderie has been great.
I've been amazed at the play on the field, because every game is competitive. Y'all all know what y'all are doing, and you can tell the quality of the football is there, mostly because folks like yourself want it to be there. And if nothing else, the tape you're putting out is incredible. And I want to be the first person, or maybe the next person, to tell you that. I want to touch a bit on your family, though. Your father, former All-American Morris Brown, Donald Payne Sr., your uncle Ezra Johnson, who I first knew about, is also an All-American, former first-round selection, 1977 NFL draft. Look, man, it feels like you don't get to gloat about anything at your house.
Nah, not much, big dog. Not much. Hey, my Uncle Ezra always, he's actually in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, so my first couple years in the NFL, he's always talking like, hey, Unc, I'm getting some checks, man. These checks are nice. He was like, get 10 years like me, big dog. Then come talk to me. Get 10 years like me, big dog. I was like, oh, man. But nah, they've been a great, my father actually passed away when I was 13. He passed away when I was 13. So my uncle has been, has taken, me under his wing. In NFL, once you get vested and everything, it's a camaraderie of all of professional football. It's a club, a private club that only certain people can join, only people who've been a part of. And so the NFL umbrella and the pro football umbrella, I'm underneath that. So I've had a lot of guys mentor and help and, take me on their wing. But yeah, big Unc, I'm trying to get up there like him though.
Well, allow me, I'm sorry for your loss. Number one. Number two, it's great that your Unc has you back and you have somebody you can speak to about this rarefied air, because that's one of the issues I find is just having somebody to relate to who understands what you're going through, that you feel has gone through it themselves. My last question for you, and this is one that I give to all of the players who are gracious enough to give us their time here, is why did you want this opportunity to play in the USFL?
That's a great question, because Coach Lewis was our defensive coordinator for the Houston Gamblers. He sat down with us the first time and said, "What is your why?" Because everybody has to have a why. They're in this, and everybody's why is different. Everybody's different. Hey, I need to provide for my family. I need to, show them that I'm still the player, same player I am. I was injured, so but my specific why was, I really just wanted an opportunity, and I'm glad the USFL has given me the opportunity to show what I've been able to do my entire career and say I'm the exact same player I was. I'm the exact same player I am, and it's giving me the opportunity to showcase that. And that's exactly why I joined the USFL, to show them, hey, Donald Payne is still the great player I believe I am, and it's giving me the chance to do it on a national stage. And I just my mom, she's been there with me throughout this entire process. Coming from going to Stetson, going to the league for 3-4 years, and then here. And I just know she loves watching me play football and doing what I love, and she knows I do it at a high level. And I'm glad I've been able to give her and the rest of my family, my stepdad as well, I'm giving them something to be excited for. They're from Atlanta, Georgia, so they come to every game in Birmingham I have here. So I'm giving them something else to be excited for. All my fans at Stetson, all my fans, who was with me when I was in the NFL, I'm giving them something to show, like, hey, DP's still fighting for this thing, and he has a lot left in the tank. I'm only 27 years old, so I still got playing ball left in me.
Hey man, you won me over just by giving props and shout outs to your moms, because this is a mom show over here. So that's very cool, honestly. The Payne train, my goodness, that's the other part. The man on Twitter is the Payne train. You go see him hit somebody. All right, cool. I'm a safety. You a linebacker. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about Cam Chancellor. Nah, that ain't no safety. That's a linebacker. That's an oversized linebacker that can fly. That's how I view you, man. It has been my privilege to talk with you today. Donald Payne is linebacker for the Houston Gamblers. Much luck to you, and good luck the rest of the way in this season.
I appreciate you, RJ. Thank you for having me on, big dog. Thank you.
My thanks to Donald Payne for joining us here on the number one ranked show. And I think it's, again, remarkable that this man has been such a tackling machine throughout his career. All right, now let's get into my power rankings headed into week 9. And this is going to be the last power rankings for the USFL's inaugural season, because yes, as we're going to go through this, we have all 4 of our playoff contenders locked in to who's going to Canton. Now it's about who's going to be in the best shape as we get to those 4 teams playing for the inaugural USFL championship. All right, for the first time all year, we have a new number 1. Ding, ding, ding. We have New Jersey at the top. Look, the Generals have proven to be the most complete football team in the USFL, offensively, defensively, special teams. They run the ball well. When they have to throw the ball, they can throw the ball well. They have a great rapport between the wide receivers and Luis Perez, if nobody else, but also DeAndre Johnson. And we got to see an example of that as Luis Perez threw a fade route to Darius Shepard to win the game in week 9. Really are excited to see or was it week 8? It was week 8. We're going into week 9. My bad. I'm excited to see that relationship continue to grow. And I also understand what they have in Trey Williams and Darius Shepard. And shout out to that offensive line that has been doing yeoman's work. And perhaps the most underrated defender in all of the league, Shalom Luani, who has been more of an interception machine than I think any other safety in the league has been. And it's really difficult to shine as a safety in the USFL because people are throwing to the outside and you're really just coming downhill to tackle, which we'll get to here in a second. Number 2 on the list, I got the Houston Gamblers. Look, you become the first team to knock off the undefeated team, the last undefeated team. As we're getting toward the end of the regular season, you shoot to the top of the power rankings because that's what we're talking about, right? What did you look like the week prior? Now, the Gamblers still haven't figured out how to score a bunch of points, especially with Kevin Sumlin being the play caller and the head coach. I just expected them to go up there and score 40 every game, and it hasn't been the way of it. The Gamblers have been defensively brilliant and remarkably sound. I would add here, you have the sack leader in Chris Odom at defensive end. You have Reggie Northrup that makes everything go in the middle. You have Will Likely on the outside, who's, if not the best, the second best corner in all of the USFL. And of course, you got Donald Payne, who is a tackling machine. He knows where the ball is. He knows where the ball carrier is, and he puts that person on the ground. And you were able to do that against a team that, quite frankly, we all thought would just hand you your head in one way or another. And that's just not the way that it went. Now, number 3, Birmingham Stallions. They have looked shaky for the past month. Right? We thought that they found something when they got Bo Scarborough more involved to the offense, and they did, right? They found a tailback that they could hand the ball to in the fourth quarter and run out the clock. But they still are getting in their own way. Slow starts for this team have been a killer, and if you go into the playoffs, you're probably playing a team that can take advantage of that slow start. They also got to see great play out of Jamar Smith late, but Jamar Smith also threw the interception that ended the game to Micah Abernathy, and Micah Abernathy is also one of those guys that is coming on strong in the latter part of the season. But the Stallions also statistically were destroying Houston, and that makes it difficult if you're not watching the football game, to which I thought Skip Holtz has the quote of the year so far in a post-game press conference when he says, statistics are for losers, which I kind of enjoy, but I also am like, yeah, I see what you mean. So they lost the field position battle. Like they got, destroyed on special teams. Like Houston's punt team was just going at them and they could not get out of their own way. You're also looking at a team that was more or less able to say, okay, you want to run the ball? Cool. We'll stop you. That's fine. Give us the ball back. We probably won't do much with it, but you're not going to score if we got the ball. And that's a great way to beat the Birmingham Stallions. It's another way of saying if you can score, you have an opportunity, but that's been so difficult for them, even as they have what I think is the best duo of linebackers in the USFL, though Reggie Northrup and Donald Payne might have something to say about that. Scooby Wright, DeMarcus Gates have been awesome all year long, right? And when those two dudes are on, they're very difficult to stop. And if you can get Bo Scarborough and CJ Maribel back to what they were a couple weeks ago, you'll be okay. But 57 rush yards on 20 rushes, that ain't going to cut it. They ain't going to cut it, especially when Jamar Smith is throwing for 260. Like, you got to get something out of your run game, and that's who this team is. They run the ball, they play defense. Number 4 here, I have the Philadelphia Stars. Now, following a shaky start against Pittsburgh, who has been not great, we saw Bart Andrus pull starter Case Cookus for KJ Costello, who once played quarterback at Stanford and Mississippi State, which is kind of wild. But neither one of those dudes looked any good against what I've always thought is a good Pittsburgh Maulers defense. Like Jared Horton doesn't get enough credit for just how good his defense has been because they haven't won that many games. They've won one, in fact, and they've been held back by their own quarterback play. But when you weren't able to pass the ball, you were able to get Matt Colburn involved, and he had 13 touches for 101 yards plus a TD from 51 yards out. This is significant because Andrus's offense is built to showcase the quarterback and the wide receivers. They like to throw the ball around. So if you're getting something out of your running game, that's just a bonus. And that's a dangerous team to play going into the USFL playoffs if Case Cookus is on, right? And Matt Colburn keeps being hot. They've also got some outstanding wide receivers that I really like in Bug Howard, who's tight end, but I call him a wide receiver, right? You also got Jordan Sewell, who's been outstanding. But more to the point here, Channing Stribling has created a no-fly zone, and Jordan Moore has turned himself into really the heart of that defense. If those things stay consistent, I feel good about my preseason dark horse pick, that is Philadelphia, to win the USFL championship. Bart Andrus has demonstrated he knows how to play this game. He knows how to take advantage of the unique USFL rules, and he is unafraid to challenge his opponents through the air and on the ground, wherever he thinks he can get an edge. Number 5 here, I got the New Orleans Breakers, who picked up the last playoff spot that was available this past week with a win against the Tampa Bay Bandits. Now, they've been great defensively, particularly with Gerard Fernandez and Davin Bellamy, right? They got great play out of Reggie Howard, defensive tackle, who was released by the Michigan Panthers just the week prior. Now, or excuse me, not Panthers, the Bandits the week prior, because he played against the Bandits. And the Breakers quietly have been really good about picking up recently released players from the team they're going to play that week. Like they did this with Shea Patterson and the Michigan Panthers, and they've done it with Reggie Howard and the Tampa Bay Bandits. But they got a hole at quarterback that I just did not expect them to have, because Kyle Sloter was playing outstanding football through the first half of the season. Since then, he hasn't looked like the guy that he's demonstrated himself to be capable of being. He's thrown more interceptions now than he has touchdown passes, 11 INTs to 9 TDs. He got the hook early in the first half against Tampa. They put in Tulsa quarterback Zach Smith, who played well, then suffered an arm injury, and they went back to Sloter. Sloter still managed to throw an interception despite not really getting that many opportunities to throw the football around. Like, he had like 12 attempts total. It's just not a good look. So Larry Fedora's got to be just beside himself trying to figure out what to do at quarterback. Now, he said in the post-game press conference that Kyle Sloter is going to be their starter, but he also said we got to take into account who's healthy, and he also said that Zach Smith could have gone back in the game if they needed him to do that. I think he's trying to let Sloter be the guy and get himself out of this slump. But I can't have a quarterback back there that's going to throw the ball to the other team and expect to win football games, because Fedora's been the first person to point this out. We shouldn't be in this position. We are playing good enough football to win games by double digits, and we're just not doing it. We're making it harder on ourselves than it has to be. But this team is also, like Philadelphia, very dangerous if both sides, offense and defense, are playing good football, and they got outstanding skill players offensively. You just got to get in the ball. Johnny Dixon being one of those dudes that they try to get involved. Jordan Ellis late, Anthony Jones late, right? We've been really fortunate to get to see some of these guys play football and see how good they can be. I think if they get the quarterback situation under control before they head to Canton, they're dangerous. They're dangerous, right? So now we get into our last 3 teams to mention here, all teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. So we'll go with, I think I got Michigan at number 6, right? Just hadn't gone well for them. They played a 4th different quarterback in Matt Bray. They also played Josh Love. They played Paxton Lynch. They played Shea Patterson. They just haven't been able to find out something that works really well for them. And Jeff Fisher's squad had an opportunity to beat the Generals until Darius Shepard went over the top and caught a fade route that ended up winning the Generals the game. They've just been unlucky all year. It's not that they're a bad football team by any stretch. I mean, they had a 60-yarder from kicker. They had a 2-point conversion in regulation, and they got the game into overtime against a playoff team in the Breakers, and they just came up short. I'd really like to see what this team looks like going into year 2. I'm sure that there are a lot of learns that Jeff Fisher and his group can take from this, but you want to have more than one win. That's the landscape. Number 7 on the list here for me is Tampa Bay. As good as Jordan Ta'amu has been at times, he's also been Jekyll and Hyde there. It's been bad, right? So he went 22 of 39 for 288 with a TD, but he also threw 2 INTs. He doesn't throw those 2 INTs, they might go score points, and they have an opportunity to not just beat the New Orleans Breakers, but they would have had an opportunity this week to secure that 4th playoff spot with the win. New Orleans beat them. New Orleans gets the playoff spot. I just felt bad for the offense and the defense that I thought would, not unlike the Michigan Panthers, showed a lot of promise, right? Jordan Ta'amu was playing really well. Derek Dillon was playing really well. They're starting to get their run game more involved. The defense, coordinated by Pepper Johnson, had just been outstanding at times. You just need all those things to work in concert with each other, and you have a different look, right? You have what I think could have just as easily been a 7-2 team going into the week 10, as opposed to being out of playoff contention and having to try to salvage something from the rest of the season. And then last on the list here is Pittsburgh. They clawed their way in front of the Stars early in the 4th quarter on Sunday night and just fell short. 12 minutes left. They gave up a big run to Matt Colburn. That's enough for, but not with 12 minutes left. They go up with 12 minutes left. And then with about 4 minutes left, they give up the big run to Matt Colburn, who obviously iced the game for them. I just felt bad for Pittsburgh's defense as much as I feel for the offense, because You could tell what Kirby Wilson was trying to do from the outset. He wanted to build his team around a power running game and a great defense. But they weren't that good at running the ball. And they weren't that good at throwing the ball when everybody knew they had to throw the ball. And at times, they didn't have enough wide receivers on the field to even do anything out of a passing formation that might stretch the defense. Like at one point, they had 3 wide receivers on the roster that they could throw passes to. And good luck trying to run 5 wide with 3 wide receivers, for instance, right? Don't know that that was in Kirby Wilson's playbook. But now that you've seen the many looks and the many ways in which you have to attack USFL defenses, I'm sure Kirby Wilson's going to take a lot from this experience. Again, I just want to point out that the defense for the Maulers was outstanding. The Stars want to throw the football a bunch. They threw it 23 times. They completed just 9 for 131 yards with an INT and 0 TDs. That is an outstanding performance from the Pittsburgh Mauler defense. And that's kind of been my takeaway from this entire group of teams. These 8 teams are really good, and we've seen very close games, and we've seen the margins are simply that thin, but wins and losses are the wins and losses. And we have our 4 teams headed to Canton. They are the Birmingham Stallions, New Orleans Breakers, the New Jersey Generals, and of course the Philadelphia Stars. I'm excited to see which one of those teams can play and win the USFL championship. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.